Picture this. It's Friday night. Your phone buzzes on the coffee table. You glance over and see the name of your best friend from college, or maybe that group chat that used to be the center of your universe. They're making plans. They're asking where you've been. Come out, they say. It's been forever. You feel a twinge in your chest. Is it guilt? Is it nostalgia? You stare at the blinking cursor, typing out a response. I'd love to, but I'm swamped with work. Send. But here's the thing. You aren't swamped. You're in your sweatpants. You're perfectly free. You just can't do it. You might tell yourself you're just getting old, or maybe you're turning into a hermit. But there is a distinct, often misunderstood psychology behind the phenomenon of the drifter. The person who slowly, quietly, and deliberately unplugs from their old social circles. It's not always depression, and it's rarely arrogance. In fact, if you've noticed your circle shrinking while your peace of mind expands, your brain might be doing some very necessary, albeit painful, housekeeping. Let's open the door and see what's actually happening inside the mind of someone who walks away. When we talk about leaving friends behind, we usually frame it as a tragedy. But psychologically, it often starts with what we call the resonance shift. Imagine you are the value shifter. For years, your friendships were built on proximity and shared circumstance. You sat next to each other in biology class, or you both hated the same boss. That was enough. But then you changed. Maybe you started therapy. Maybe you got sober, started a business, or just decided that complaining about Monday mornings wasn't a personality trait anymore. The value shifter finds themselves sitting in the same old booth at the same old bar, listening to the same stories, and suddenly, they feel like an alien. It's a sensory mismatch. The psychology here is about cognitive dissonance. Your old friends act as mirrors, reflecting back a version of you that no longer exists. When you hang out with them, you feel pressured to regress, to shrink back into the shape of the person you were 5 years ago just to keep the peace. And the brain hates that. It's exhausting. So you pull away, not because you hate them, but because you are trying to protect the new version of yourself from being suffocated by the old one. But then there is a different profile. A sharper, more protective one. Let's call this person the nervous system guardian. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and your body immediately tenses up? For the guardian, old friendships often equate to old patterns of dysregulation. Maybe your old circle bonded over trauma, or chaos, or drama. You know the type. The friend who only calls when the sky is falling. For years you played the therapist. You felt needed. It felt like love. But as you've matured, your tolerance for high cortisol interactions has bottomed out. The psychology here is fascinating because it's biological. Your body is literally rejecting the stress. When you see their name on your phone, your amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, fires off a warning shot. You aren't being antisocial. You are engaging in self-preservation. You've realized that loyalty is not a valid reason to let someone use your mind as a dumping ground for their unprocessed emotions. The guardian stops answering the phone not out of malice, but because they have finally learned that peace is expensive and they can no longer afford the ticket price of that friendship. And then, we have the most subtle, yet perhaps the most common type, the mask dropper. Think about who you were at 20. Were you the funny one? The smart one? The peacemaker? In many long-term friend groups, we are assigned a role early on, like a character in a sitcom, and the group dynamic relies on you playing that part. If the funny one suddenly wants to have a serious conversation about philosophy or sadness, the group gets uncomfortable. They make a joke. They try to push you back into your box. The mask dropper reaches a breaking point where the effort required to put on the costume becomes too heavy. This is the psychology of authenticity battling against social compliance. You stop hanging out with them because the interaction feels performative. You realize you haven't been bringing yourself to these hangouts. You've been bringing a representative. And once you taste the freedom of being misunderstood but authentic versus being understood but fake, it is very hard to go back to the performance. You drift away because you'd rather be alone than be an actor in your own life. Finally, we have to talk about the energy economist. This isn't about drama or values, it's about bandwidth. In our hyper-connected world, our brains are constantly battered by dopamine triggers and information overload. For the energy economist, social interaction has moved from a source of recharge to a source of depletion. This is often the person who says, "I love you, but I need to stare at a wall for 3 hours." Psychologically, this is a shift in reward processing. The dopamine hit you used to get from a crowded party or a loud dinner has been replaced by the serotonin of stability and solitude. You begin to crave low-maintenance intimacy, relationships where silence isn't awkward and presence doesn't require performance. You stop hanging out with old friends who require high-energy maintenance because your emotional budget has been slashed. You're not bankrupt, you're just investing differently. You're trading quantity of connection for quality of peace. So, where does this leave us? It leaves us with a heavy truth. We are raised on the myth that friends differ, but friends are forever. But the psychology of human development tells a different story. We shed our skins. We rewrite our neural pathways. And sometimes, the people who held our hand during one chapter simply cannot read the language of the next. If you are the one pulling away, you might feel a lingering sense of guilt, like you're abandoning the witnesses to your life. That's normal. It's a form of grief. But ask yourself, are you pulling away because you are afraid of intimacy? Or are you pulling away because you are finally committed to your own reality? Maybe you're the value shifter, tired of pretending. Maybe you're the guardian, protecting your peace. Or maybe you're just tired of the mask. Whatever the reason, listen to that instinct. Your environment is the soil in which your mind grows. Sometimes you have to repot the plant. Does this resonate with you? Do you feel the drift happening in your own life? I'm curious. Which type feels most like you right now? The guardian? The mask dropper? Let me know in the comments below. It's always interesting to see we aren't the only ones ghosting the group chat. And if you want to keep exploring the strange, hidden wiring of human behavior, make sure to subscribe. We've got a lot more layers to peel back.